Okay, welcome back to Simply Trade Tips with Hammer and Heels. We're in the house, Julie Parks and Renee Chiuchiarelli. We're going to organize the chaos in 4 minutes or less. Julie, how are you? Tell us what's going on and how do we organize this tariff chaos?
Hey, Renee, thanks for having me here today. Looking forward to organizing the chaos. I'm going to cover strategy. If you can cover apps, we're going to talk about 4 key steps to organize this chaos that is tariff craziness. Step number 1 is to get your data. So have it on hand before these regs come off, and you know that where the United States is going, there's going to be global data that's required. Renee, how should you operationalize that data piece?
Well, definitely I'm going to get into my ERP and I'm going to have my cross-functional committee or task force. So those are the 2 operational steps I would recommend to our audience. And next, step 2, Jewel, what's 2?
Step number 2, let's cover off on reg analysis. So the first step from a strategic perspective is you absolutely want to read what has been posted. In the United States, there are several layers. You have to read, you have to interpret, and you have to verify your interpretation. Renee, how do you operationalize that?
Sign up for every legal blog you can, your trade associations, get on LinkedIn, network, refer to our Simply Trade Tips episode number 1, where we talk about networking. So you need help with this. I mean, I need help with this. So we need to work as a team to get our data and be able to do this regulation analysis.
Excellent. Step number 3, y'all, are moving away from reg analysis and moving into impact analysis. And in this impact analysis section, from a strategic perspective, you want to create the bottom line. And I recommend that it is more on an annualized basis. So using last year's annualized numbers, this will be the impact for the full year of 2025. And we like communicating that number at a big picture level. Renee, how do you do the impact analysis?
Oh my gosh. So you're going to take 1, which is our data. You're going to take 2, which is the regulation analysis, and you're going to move it into 3. And obviously you're going to get into ACE to verify what customs data is. And then maybe you can create like an in-house duty simulator. You know, there's software, or maybe you have tech people that can help you. So that's what I would recommend to operationalize your impact analysis.
I think when it comes to impact analysis, we might not always get it right, but the idea is you want to document how you performed your impact analysis. So for example, on steel and aluminum, you may not have all an understanding of what steel and aluminum content value is, but you can document that you made an assumption that 30% of the value of what you import is related to steel and aluminum, or maybe 50, whatever the number is. Let's move on to kind of our 4th and final step, which is to communicate the impact analysis and also kind of measure. So from here, from a strategic perspective, we like the idea of publishing that bottom line in a succinct single sheet that consistently gets updated. The leadership will get very attuned to understanding the categories of analysis and understanding what's new you can highlight. But the idea is that you'll have all of the impact analysis for tariffs on a page. Renee, how do you operationalize that?
Well, you're going to have your customs committee or task force there, give them the data, obviously, after you provide it to your executives. And then maybe you're going to have in your newsletters, you're going to keep your complete organization informed, because this is a cross-functional issue. And then last but not least, Julie, let's talk about Julie's FIO, figure it out. What do you want to leave our Simply Trade Tips audience with?
I'm going to say, guys, it is a crazy world out there. Let's not let the perfect undermine the good. Mistakes will happen. I think what is important is that you have a way to communicate succinctly with leadership, and you can document what assumptions have been overrun by Customs and Border Protection. Specifically, what's been very challenging in this space is when you do your impact analysis, what mitigators are allowed. So can you do drawback? How does that bold number get reduced by impact analysis? So let's not let the perfect undermine the good. Let's document those assumptions, and there will be errors. Renee, how would you operationalize that?
Put your audit program in place. In fact, make your audit program more detailed, because as we know, CBP has increased their enforcement. So auditing is you round out, you close the door, right? So thank you, Julie, for our 4 steps and our FIO. We're glad you guys are here. Thanks for listening.
Thank you very much for joining us. Simply Trade is brought to you by the generous contributions of Global Training Center. You can follow the show and GTC on LinkedIn or Twitter and other social networks. Make sure you check out the show notes in the description for a full rundown of today's show with all the important links. Also, make sure that you share this with a friend and subscribe on your favorite streaming platform. We really like hearing from you. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to rate and review wherever you listen to this podcast. If you or someone you know would like to be a guest in the show or would like to sponsor Simply Trade or suggest any topic you would like for us to discuss, please contact us via email at simplytrade@globaltrainingcenter.com, or you can DM us on Twitter at simplytradepod. Thank you again for the privilege of your time. Happy trading. Simply Trade is not a law firm or an advisor. The topics and discussions conducted by Simply Trade hosts and guests should not be considered and is not intended to substitute legal advice. You should seek appropriate counsel for your own situations. These conversations and information are directed towards listeners in the United States for informational, educational, and entertainment purposes only and should not be substituted for legal advice. No listener or viewer of this podcast should act or refrain from acting on the basis of information on this podcast without first seeking legal advice from counsel. Information on this podcast may not be up to date depending on the time of publishing and the time of viewership. The content of this posting is provided as is. No representations are made that the content is error-free. The views expressed in or through this podcast are those of the individual speakers, not those of their respective employers or Global Training Center as a whole. All liability with respect to actions taken or not taken based on the contents of this podcast are hereby expressly disclaimed.